Good evening. This is the March 13th, 2013, 3/13/13 Canby Urban Renewal Agency Special Meeting. First item on the agenda is a Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. Next item is citizen input on non-agenda items and community announcements. Let's start with community announcements. Sue?
Okay, I have two tonight. I'm trying to train you, so you can expect this every time we meet. So Canby Swim Center is going to have some schedule changes during spring break week coming up March 25th through the 29th. During spring break, there will be no swimming lessons and no Gators swim practice. And Gators will start practice again on April 1st. There will also be several special public swims during the break. These will be held from 1 to 3 p.m. on March 21st and 22nd, and the entire week of March 25th through the 29th. And city administration would like to remind residents that springtime brings flowers and sometimes baby chicks. The City of Canby Administration Department would like to remind residents that the city's municipal code requires a special animal permit before they can have chickens or other such non-domestic animals. The permit costs a one-time fee of $10, and the packets are available online at the city's website, www.ci.canby.or.us. And for more information, you can call City Hall at 503-266-4021 or stop by 182 North Holly Street.
Thank you. I'm glad you clarified the special domestic animals, because I thought maybe I was going to have to get a permit for my 5-year-old great-grandson.
No. Not that.
He runs around like a chicken. Okay. And now is the opportunity for citizen input on non-agenda items. So if there's anyone in attendance this evening that wishes to discuss something that is not on our agenda, now is the opportunity. And I have a card from Steve Shop. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is this, okay, something about the library?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Mayor and councilors. My name is Steve Shop. I'm a visitor from the city of Tualatin, and I have a long history of analyzing urban renewal, tax increment financing, and I'm here to give you some some indication of what's going on in the county and what it feels like to do the right thing when it comes to urban renewal. I have friends on City Council in Lake Oswego and others throughout the county, and I know what's going on out there with urban renewal and tax increment financing. I helped immensely with the county 386 measure, and just to start with one scenario, I had lunch with one of the city councilors in Lake Oswego last week, and I know several of them. And I asked him how he was feeling since the majority of them, 5-2, voted to reverse the Foothills Urban Renewal Plan, which was a sizable urban renewal plan for downtown Lake Oswego. You might have read about it. I'm not going to go into the details, but it was something the previous board had done. And even during the lame duck session, ran through a bunch of things of approval, even after there was a change in the city council. And the new majority undid it. And they wasted no time doing it. And it was, of course, it was very contentious. There was a couple of people on the new city council that didn't like that idea, that thought it was going backward. But they prevailed. And on the night that they voted to undo that urban renewal plan, I was there and I gave testimony, and I could tell that there was, there was some tension and some things and trepidation among the majority, worrying about whether or not it was the right thing to do. And they voted 5-2 to undo it. And I've talked to a number of them since then, and they are glad they did it. The residents of Lake Oswego are very proud of them. To stick to their guns, when they ran for election, it was to do things different, to stabilize the city, to move away from using tax increment financing. They also had recently a measure where their library was defeated, and they're going to go back to the drawing board and look to downscale. They're not going to use urban renewal. They're going to look forward to reversing another urban renewal plan they have. It's a small one. But they're setting a path for stabilizing their city, reducing debt, and going about things differently. And there was a lot of animosity in the city of Lake Oswego in the run-up to this regime change they have now, or a city council change. And they're feeling real good about it. But even in the face of that, right now they have an unused borrowing capacity of around $40 million. And there's a couple members of the 5-member majority who are looking at that and thinking, you know, that money's sitting there. We can use it. And we've got things we want to do. One of them is to help Portland upgrade the sewage treatment plant there. You know, it's a municipal project, and anyone who is honest about tax increment financing would have to agree that you shouldn't use tax increment financing on things that don't produce an increment. It defeats the whole mechanism of tax increment financing. Sure, it has things that can be presented as preferable, and sometimes it's easier, and it's always ushered along with the notion that it won't require a new fee or a tax. So this is preferable. But at the long haul, it really isn't, because when you vacate money from essential services, they have less. And when they have less, they need more. And when the only way they get more is through new fees and taxes. So it doesn't pan out the way it should. And so in the discussion about their money that they have sitting there is the temptation. It's irresistible. And yet I think they're going to stand tall because they feel good about the previous reversal. And when they move forward, I think they're going to retire this urban renewal district they have downtown. And I think they have $10 or $15 million sitting there and a $40 million borrowing capacity. And what their plan or desire is to return City Hall into a relationship with the public that is trustworthy, reliable, and good and healthy. And where in the future, and preferably not too far, they can go to the voters if they have a project that's worthy, that makes sense, that's modest or well thought out and affordable, and say, look, will you support this new city project? And we're going to offer a bond measure for our levy. And in that kind of environment, that kind of relationship with the citizenry, you'll be able to pass a new tax. The problem is we've gone so far away from a good relationship with the communities that you're reluctant to try to pass a new tax because of the poor relationship. And that's why so often urban renewal has surfaced. And I've been following this for years, and I know that where and how urban renewal spread out amongst the cities in the state, and it was primarily abused in Portland and the city of Salem for years, and they're the two biggest abusers. But the Clackamas County, in its totality, with all the cities and the county currently, is losing $29.7 million a year to debt servicing urban renewal. That's the cities and the county combined. And so there's a new trajectory, new direction that's happening with the city of Gladstone. They were going to use urban renewal for a new library, and they a lot of the critics referred to their library, a $10 million library, as a Taj Mahal. It was going to lead to the closing down of the Oak Grove Library, taking away the library for Oak Grove people, because this big mammoth library was going to be built in Gladstone. And of course, the county was going to offer up $2 million because one library was going to close, and the county library system was going to offer $2 million. Well, the public wanted to vote on that for one thing, so they passed a referendum requiring a public vote. And so when the library was up for a vote, it got beaten this last election also. And they had a couple changes in the city council. And so they're following the same trajectory, same change of direction. And with one more person on Gladstone City Council, they'll have a majority there, and they look forward to doing things differently, to stabilizing their city, because they got a lot of circumstances, like most cities, which are being challenged through all their services, and they want to do something about that. Of course, getting back to Lake Oswego, and same as the folks in Gladstone, it always seems like, well, let's just get beyond this one, and then we'll start being fiscally responsible. That's another train of thought that I see. It's always common. Well, this one's all ready to go. You know, we worked on it so long, and so that kind of thing gets dialed in. As far as the county goes, the county right now, in their largest urban renewal district, is Clackamas Town Center Urban Renewal District. They currently have piled up $48 million in a reserve account from the increment. The increment grew to $12 million a year. It's the number one, obviously, you all know this, it's the center of the biggest hub in Clackamas County. That urban renewal district's been there for 30 years. It was created shortly after the I-205 plans and the expansion and the permits were issued for the Clackamas Town Center. And so it was already known that it was going to be a big shopping hub there. And remember when I was a young man, I actually worked in that shopping center a couple of 6-month periods. It was a massive project. And it was destined to be a hub of Clackamas County because of the freeway and the shopping mall. And so urban renewal rode that whole thing the whole way. And everything that naturally would have occurred, the Urban Renewal Agency took credit for it. But right now they have $48 million. And of course, they have a whole list of various projects in that district they'd like to see done. And, you know, we have all this money and it's just sitting there in cash. You know, it came from the increment, which you know where it came from. $20 million of it came from education. So the state common school fund replaced that money to make sure that the Clackamas school districts didn't lose that $20 million. And so I can tell you that there's going to be an effort by some of the commissioners, and I don't know if they have quite the majority they would like out there, but there's going to be some efforts to take that entire $48 million and put it back to where it came from with all the taxing jurisdictions. And excess of $20 million will go back to the common school fund where it came from. And I'm quite certain that at least one or two commissioners will look at that as a loss of $20 million to Clackamas County. It came from the common school fund. Giving it back to this common school fund is not a loss for the county. It's putting the money back where it came from. But they'll also have a benefit of, I think, $7 million to the general fund of Clackamas County, $6 million for the police, fire, sheriff department, $8 million for fire, $4.6 million for the library system, and so forth. And there's a whole list of jurisdictions where that money's going to go. It's $48 million. And that'll help stabilize the county because they're heading up to another budget here, and this is going to be strained all over the place with the added PERS costs and everything else. And this new direction, people are looking for out here in the county and in the state, and you know, with all the contentious debate about the CRC and everything else. The good old days, you know, they have to change. And I'll wrap it up. I'm going on too long, but I just want to let you know that some of these decisions that have already been made, that you have them on your platter right now. I've talked to these people. Like us, they're glad they did it. They're glad they undid their urban renewal plan, and they're feeling good about it, and they're looking forward to feeling better about more decisions like that, and stabilizing their city and their financial structure and everything else, and looking forward to gaining a full trust of the public and a healthy relationship. And so I urge you to pursue that same thing, and I think it's a good way to go, and you're also going to feel real good about it. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other citizen input on non-agenda items? All right, the next item is consent agenda, the minutes from the February 20th, 2013 URD agency special meeting.
Chair Ayers, I move that we accept the consent agenda, which is the minutes from the February 20th, 2013 URD agency special meeting. Second.
The motion by Commissioner Hodson, second by Commissioner Coleman to approve the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the February 20th, 2013 Urban Renewal Agency Special Meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. All right, new business. A presentation by Greater Portland, Inc. on regional economic development strategies. Renata?
Thank you for making time on your agenda this evening. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you our partner from Greater Portland, Inc., Colin Sears, who is working diligently on our and the region's behalf to recruit new businesses from other areas outside of the Portland area, outside of Oregon, to come to Canby and the region. And they have a very sophisticated approach, have been very successful, and we value that partnership. So I wanted to share with you how that works and have Colin available to answer questions as well. He has a brief presentation for you tonight.
Okay.
Colin?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this?
Your
Can you hear me?
No, there- yeah,
microphone's
there's-
for at home.
It's for the
Okay.
TV, it's not for the room.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I'll make sure I speak loudly enough so you can hear me in the room. Thank you very much for having us today. And first and foremost, thank you for to the City of Canby for being a member investor in Greater Portland, Inc. Without communities like yours, we wouldn't exist. So I'll talk a little bit about us and our financial model and how we operate. We're a nonprofit. We are, and I don't know, is there a way to get rid of that? Oh, get rid of that. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yep, good. So we are a regional public-private nonprofit that we do economic development work, and we're a small staff. We're a staff of 7 people. We are a merger between 2 organizations that existed previously, and about 22 months ago, those organizations merged. Regional Economic Development Partners, which was a publicly funded nonprofit focused on economic development, and Greenlight Greater Portland. And those 2 organizations merged in May of 2011, and we formed Greater Portland, Inc. So we represent the entire statistical metro area of Portland, including 2 counties in Washington State, Clark and Skamania, and obviously, you know, the core counties, Clackamas, Multnomah, Washington, but then also Columbia and Yamhill on Oregon side. So we do 3 things primarily. We recruit and help expand regional companies. That's my bucket that I lead, business development. We work to coordinate regional economic development initiatives. So those may be things like the Brookings Export Initiative, we'll talk about it, the GIAC grants, federal grants to help companies here export and grow their business through technical assistance and other workforce training and other technical service needs. And then the third area that we focus on is marketing the region as a business location outside of the region. So why do we do what we do? First of all, I'd say if you look at, actually, I think the third fact is the most relevant fact. Other cities, other regions like Austin, Denver, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Boston, many other large metro areas, top 30, top 40 cities, regions, have been approaching this type of model or using this type of model for decades, and they're ahead of us in this. So many people know, you know, Greater Denver or Phoenix as places where they market the region as a whole outside, and then when people come to look at sites, they want to look at, you know, various sites and locations like yours. Economic development is becoming very global, very intense. We've had projects I've worked on over the past year while I've been at Greater Portland, Inc. We've had projects where we've been the only North American region competing with, you know, European countries, Caribbean countries, Asian countries. So it's not always us competing against Boise or Tacoma anymore. It could be when you find out who's on the short list, sometimes it's amazing. You know, oh, it's you, Ireland, Czechoslovakia, and Botswana. I mean, literally, it's all over the place. And so site selectors or companies have very specific criteria that could be based, you know, in certain cases, it's based upon the location quotient, which means how many people are working in manufacturing here, in high tech, working in various types of industries. And they'll look and they'll say, well, there's 5 cities in the globe that really do an amazing job with precision metals. And so Portland Metro is one of those, as you know. And so we often make the list, or certain types of medical device manufacturing. those are just some anecdotes that give you some background here. But the bottom line is fact 2 is as important as the other 2 facts. Traded sector companies are what we focus on, companies that are selling primarily goods, but in some cases services outside of the region. So we want to expand those companies here, and we want to bring new companies to the region because those help our economy most. And I guess to add on to the testimony before, of course, you want investment to bring, increment and other resources to our economy here. So I'll go through our work plan at a high level to give you an idea of what we do and why it's important. But I would say, just to wrap that up, we receive 50% of our funds from cities and counties, and then 50% of our funds come from the private sector, institutions, some of the larger banks, some of the larger law firms, and some of the bigger larger traded sector companies that, some are name brands like Adidas and some of the manufacturing firms in the region as well. So it's a mix, and it's great to have an organization which is funded by both public and private, because we can bring, our board consists of people from both the public and the private sector, and they can bring their brains together and give us an input on making sure that we're achieving the objectives of our work plan, but it has a public and a private facet to it. So we have 3 aspects, as I mentioned before. Business development, we focus on business development, marketing and branding, and regional strategy and coordination. And we're a lean, mean nonprofit. 7 staff, not a big budget, not a lot to do, not a lot of funds outside of our operations, and just keeping the staff alive. So we try to work very creatively. So business development, we focus primarily, I would say primarily, because of course any lead that comes in, if we think it's a decent fit for the region, we're going to respond. We work very closely with Business Oregon on this side of the Columbia River, and to the north we work very closely with the Columbia River Economic Development Council. So we work some leads which are clearly delineated as Oregon only. I'd say about half to 2/3 of those, and then the other 40% of the leads we work are on behalf of the entire region. We focus on the 4 clusters, athletic and outdoor, which includes things like it's not just footwear and cool jackets, or it also includes knives and tools and things of that nature. High-tech and software, which would include semiconductors, Intel, companies like that. Advanced manufacturing, which is pretty much anything that is made. If a company made it through the recession and they're still in business, they're an advanced manufacturer if they're making stuff. So, then the last one's clean technology, which we know last decade we saw a lot of growth in the region in solar, wind energy, and obviously now of the new successful clean tech companies are really around water resources, could even be products that are made for water conservation, etc. So right now, this gives you a snapshot today of the types of projects that I'm working. They're split among our industries. Advanced manufacturing would include food processing, which we've seen an increased interest in food processing. That could include everything from candy to yogurt to applesauce. These leads are coming in very strongly the last year and a half. Some recent highlights of some of the projects we've worked on, and we've played a role. We're not the lead in these, but the Magnum High-Tech project was one that we worked with Business Oregon and the Portland Development Commission on, so it was a new division of a high-tech activewear company. Catalyst RX is a healthcare company, and they've already hired 180 folks in the region, and they'll be growing to about 300. Salesforce.com, you may have read about recently, was another project that we worked on very closely with Business Oregon, and then with Lake Oswego, City of Portland, and Hillsborough, because those were the finalist communities that Salesforce was looking on. And right now we're we're close to, within the next 60 to 90 days, there's 3 or 4 deals that will either select our region or won't. And those are from a 5-person company onto a 1,500 job project. So a mix of projects, everything, the bulk of the projects we work on are going to be anywhere from 20 to about 100, 150 jobs on average. So the big sexy ones like Salesforce.com, although the media loves them, they don't come up very often, quite frankly. So, and I do want to just add kudos to Renata. I've spent time working in the region. I've been with Greater Portland Inc. a year and a half, but I worked for the Portland Development Commission when we used to do the leads regionally and do the tours. I've been out here to the industrial park several times. It's been a few years, I think about 3 years. So Renata provided a tour this afternoon, and it was a great tour. And I would say several of the sites that you have available meet the criteria of leads that are just coming into our pipeline. So I'm not to overinflate hopes or anything, but the types of properties you have, especially in the greenfield, that sort of 20 to 60 acre site tends to fit the needs of many of the leads that we're getting right now. So I think it's worth pausing for a second to stay. So thank you, Renata, for the tour. And it was an excellent tour. Marketing and branding. We don't have a big budget to run print ads and, the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, and that wouldn't fit with the ethos of our region anyhow. But we are doing selective advertising in Alaska Airlines and Horizon Air magazines, where we tell stories from business owners who are here, either owners or executives, and we call it the Faces of Business campaign. So very simple, and these are a couple executives who we've told their stories. So we've asked for suggestions, and we have a great list of suggested future faces of businesses. But if you have somebody you think just has a really great story and tells the story of our region and why they're here to do business, we'd love to, we're making a list, and we're going to be adding them, probably 2 or 3 every 6 months. So what we have done is, if you haven't gone there already, Renata could send out the link after, but we've updated our website. So it's data rich. It has a ton of data, and in fact, it has data that sometimes we get calls from site selectors, and they say, how do you stack up against Austin or Phoenix or Charleston, South Carolina, random cities. So we have data on our region as well as 100 other top regions based upon population in the country. So someone can say, oh, workforce, here's how they compare. Cost of housing, here's how the Greater Portland region compares. So it's a really great tool for people when they're trying to narrow down decisions. Maybe they have a list of 20 cities or regions in the country or the world that they're looking at. So we've done that. So the web, we've really focused on data. Faces of Business, I talked about that campaign. We launched that in September, and we're adding new Faces of Business every other month or so. And then advertising, besides just doing some print ads, which I've talked about, we're using social media, things like Facebook and Twitter, and also selective earned media, which you've heard, getting stories about Portland in other regions. And so the Salesforce.com has been a great sort of news blast thing, because media outside of Portland, especially in the Bay Area in Northern California, has focused on our region as a business location. When you look at overall cost, we obviously blow Northern California out of the water. So we've done very well with getting press, getting calls from other companies in both high-tech, software, and manufacturing who are, wow, we read about Salesforce. What do you have? What resources do you have here? So, and then the last one that I talked about before we call regional strategy and coordination, and we manage the Federal Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, which is a 5-year plan. We get funding from the U.S. Economic Development Administration to administer that document, that strategy, but then from that strategy, we're given, essentially bonus points on various types of federal grants, whether those are for infrastructure, and they impact the whole region and all the communities within the region. In this case, I do want to delineate there's a geographic difference between the SEDS region includes Clark County, Washington, Multnomah, and Clackamas counties. So we're missing 3 counties from what we represent, but that's a district that was set up before Greater Portland, Inc. was established. One of the things, just very quickly, a few things we're doing besides the SEDS strategy is we're working with the Brookings Institute on an export initiative, and we're looking to leverage primary exporters, catalyze under-exporters, so companies that have goods and services that are easily exportable, build that pipeline, and then brand it globally. And the reason we're doing this is because for every, so it ties to the Obama administration's goal to double U.S. exports over the next 5 years. So our goal is to increase that within the region, obviously through technical assistance and lots of other down-in-the-weeds details. It's not us just holding a flag and saying this would be great. But the goal is to double those exports over the next 5 years to $42 billion by 2017. And the nice figure up there is for every $1 billion in exports, that equals 5,400 jobs, good-paying family jobs family wage jobs with benefits. So if we were to grow that, we'd have 113,000 new jobs in the region, which would be great. And we're on our way towards that. So anything else you'd like to add, Renata? So we've been very impressed by your city, by Clackamas County overall. I think the initiative on the proposals that we send out on behalf of companies or site selectors, we respond on behalf of the region. So obviously we require that your staff, such as people like Renata and people on her team, do a lot of heavy lifting to pull together data, facts, information on properties, incentives. You guys do a wonderful job. We've just begun this work, so it's really 18 months ago our CEO came on board. He hired, our team started being hired fall of 2011, so we're really just a year and a half into this, but we've been very impressed by not only the city of Canby, but by Clackamas County. I would say the aggressiveness and the timeliness. So we really appreciate your participation and involvement in in selling the region. And we know, I'm confident we're going to have wins in your city, in this county, as a result of our collective efforts. So we're just a team player, a coordinator. We're not magicians pulling jobs out of thin air. We need great people like Renata to get us info, and people like you to make decisions that can help us, go the extra mile to show companies that we're a great location to do business. So.
Well, quick question, Renata. Gives us updates every month on economic development activities, and she's going to do that in a few minutes, I assume. And you talk about the teams you work with, but I remember hearing from state people, but is this who you're working with?
Yes, we work with Greater Portland, Inc., which is the Portland region organization, and then Business Oregon, which funnels state leads primarily, and then we also work with the Clackamas County team, because leads come from everywhere.
So you have basically 3 lead generators that you work with.
So those are the 3 organized ones. We also
Yeah.
get leads from brokers
yeah.
and from senators and all kinds of places.
Okay. Any questions for Colin?
You asked my one question, so, well, I guess I do have one. So, the first meeting for the area was held in Tualatin a couple weeks back.
Yes.
How was the feedback from that meeting? That was the first one. What's been the response?
It was a very lively and interesting discussion, and they're going to be following that up with another meeting probably within a couple weeks, and the Greenlight Portland team will come out and be there to answer the specifics about how leads are generated and how leads are distributed and so on. So it was a very open discussion and generally very positive.
Okay. Good. That's all that I had, thanks.
You know? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. You never have too many lead sources.
Yeah. Okay, continuing.
So I have two pieces for you today. One is the summary and then a flyer on Explore Canby. So Colin had mentioned leads from the region and the state. I'm working on one of those as we speak. It's due on Saturday. A very exciting lead that I think Canby would be well positioned for. They're looking for 15 to 20 acres with rail service. They want to be within 10 miles of an interstate, which Canby is. And they are looking to employ 100 to 125 people. It is an advanced energy company that develops and commercializes proprietary technologies, and it's a huge investment. It's $125 to $175 million investment. So that would be quite a coup if Canby were able to have this company come to our community. We have the strategic investment zone to offer. It's a 15-year property tax abatement on anything over $25 million. They provide a community service fee of, I believe, $500,000 a year to offset the impact of the development. There's also an income tax revenue share that would come back to the community based on the jobs that are created by the company. So we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but the point in mentioning it is that we do have some incentives that other communities don't that make us more attractive. So I will be doing my best to do a thorough presentation. I've checked with our utility providers, and we do have the water and energy capacity and natural gas capacity to accommodate them. So those were the main pieces that they were interested in. The second lead, second meeting that we had early this month at the encouragement of Senator Olson, he brought us the lead of Helix Poly. The mayor and city administrator and I met with them by phone. They're a Texas recycling company. As it turned out, they really weren't looking to locate a plant. They were more interested in understanding Oregon's recycling policy and changes in the wind at the legislature. But it was a good discussion, and we certainly appreciated Senator Olson thinking of us and sending leads our way. You never know where a lead is going to come from. So.
Someday maybe they'll build a plant here.
It could
Canby,
be.
You never know.
And that would be great. We're also working with local companies. Canby Rental is looking to tear down their building and build anew, build bigger, build nicer, potentially 2 stories.
Wow.
They're going to be investigating their options and costs and designs over the upcoming year, and then they hope to actually construct the following year, looking at probably 2014 timeframe. We'll be working with them to identify financing, to help them through the building and permitting process, and kind of holding their hand throughout the process to make it work.
Is there any way to somehow convince them to use the existing wood flooring in their new building?
They are going to.
That's just really?
Exactly.
It reminds me of hardware stores and that kind of thing from 50 years ago, the old plank floors. And
Maybe it can be salvaged for
Yeah.
a pub or something.
Well, they love it also, and they would love to keep it, refinish it, have it be part of the new building if possible. And I mean, it's a 102-year-old floor, so
Really? Wow.
it's historic. So the city does offer a redevelopment grant that provides technical assistance just for this kind of business. It helps them think through what the building could look like, what are some potential costs, how it could lay out effectively on the site to meet their needs, what are the possibilities, what are some preliminary designs. It's a 50% matching grant up to $3,000. They seemed intrigued by that. We don't have an application in hand, but I'm assuming that I'll be bringing one forward to you in a while. Also, our planning department is working with Proactive Sports. They're looking to add 12,000 square foot warehouse addition to their facility on 2nd Avenue. They've already gone through the pre-application process, and it went well, so they're moving ahead.
I'm aware of this one because it's my next-door neighbor owns the company, but they were concerned about the limitations on the the style of building they have evidently is not an outright permitted use anymore in that zone, but...
Right, they have a metal building, and
Yeah.
they had wanted to construct another metal building.
Right.
And since that time, design standards have changed
Okay.
away from more
Yeah.
metal. There's ways to incorporate some of it with other components, like concrete tilt-up or other production methods, but we're working with them on what's possible.
Okay.
That's good.
I've been talking about the economic development strategy. I've shared the preliminary ideas with you. I hope to get you the full plan with all of the details tomorrow. So it's looking to be about 25 pages, so set aside some time, if you'd like, to review and provide your comments. I'm happy to refine as needed. And that'll be coming your way for adoption on April 3rd. Or not, but it'll be coming to you on April 3rd. You have a flyer that was passed out on Explore Cambry. You've heard about that at your city council meeting. City administrator mentioned it to you, and you got a sneak preview of it. It's live now. We've been doing a lot to try and get the word out, and we'd like to encourage you to also help spread the word. The more people that know about it, the more people that download it on their phone are people that are going to be shopping at our local businesses and accessing the services that the city provides, the police, the library, the transit, the paper, all of the various resources that this community offers. So the more people that use it, the more they know about it, the better it will be for everybody.
Is there any word from your developer on when they might be able to get the app for Windows phones, Windows 8 phones?
I have put that request in, and I will remind them of that.
Okay.
It's they'll keep getting better and better, and I forwarded all of the comments that we received, and they're working on them actively.
Yeah, the announcement of this came the day after I got a new phone into the modern world.
And would it have changed your purchasing decision?
Might have.
Yeah? So,
I wanted to thank Commissioner Dale for test driving that. Came up with a list of, we would have had to pay a consultant for the amount of work that Tim did on that. So it was. I took a look at it, and it was fine, and Tim found the weak edges and made it better. So thanks,
and
Tim.
we appreciate that thoroughness. And on behalf of Commissioner Ryder, we've added all the churches in Canby as well. So.
Thank you.
And then finally, thank you for your approval at the last City Council meeting for the film and video resolution. We're going to be implementing the details on that, including developing a website, reaching out to property owners of attractive and promising film locations and getting them in the database and being ready for when Brad Pitt comes to town. So. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you. Jamie, you have one too also? Okay. Main Street program.
I'm Jamie Stickle. I'm the Main Street Manager. My update, starting with promotion, we had our Downtown Canby First Friday on March 1st, and it featured 9 businesses that offered food specials, retail specials, even a prom-themed fashion show. That fashion show was held at Park Avenue, and the ladies there helped coordinate with other downtown businesses, but also brought Degrees of Chic, which is not a downtown business, to come down and participate, which is just a great way to have partnerships, to encourage other businesses to partner, even though they might not be in the downtown core. Our new business downtown, Red Door Antiques, which is in the old C&J's building on First Avenue, has expressed interest in participating in the First Friday program, and I think that they would be a great addition to the program and a great way to complement some of the other businesses that we have here. The Cash Mob will return in May of 2013. So look forward to some more information on that. The Promotions Committee is working on the Garden Spot Run, which will be a fun run, walk, 5K, 10K on May 4th. A kiddie run and a doggy dash will accompany that for our smaller participants. And the race will begin and end in downtown Canby at Waite Park, but the routes will highlight gems in Canby that go throughout the town, including the Dahlia Fields and Malala River State Park. Our committee members are working on coordinating all efforts of this event, including the music, children's activities, promoting the downtown businesses, working with the Master Gardener Show and the Saturday Market, which are both starting that weekend. The online registration is available now, and the cost for the 10K is $30. The cost for the 5K is $20, and it includes a designed T-shirt and information on the run, on registration, if you want to be a volunteer or a vendor, is available at www.gardenspotrun.com or on our Facebook page, which is just facebook.com in the Garden Spot Run.
Jamie, excuse me, could you have somebody contact the farming operations that operate out on that end of town?
Yep.
Because May is prime season when they're moving big equipment and working out there, and you're going to have a lot of people along the roads that they should just be aware of.
Yep, for safety reasons,
Yep.
that's perfect. Thank you.
And as long as we're taking a break, Jamie, tell me about that doggy dash. That's only for small dogs?
No, just, it's for any dog that wants to participate, obviously, hopefully bring friendly dogs.
Okay.
But
I was
just,
wondering if this was like Silverton's Wiener Dash, but this is all dogs.
no,
So-
but in my
so-
mind, all dogs are
So
small rat
my
dogs,
dog
so.
can race
Absolutely.
Rich's dog.
My dogs weigh 60 pounds each. They're not real small.
My dog can beat your dog.
Yeah, I'm sure he could.
Yes, no, everybody can participate.
Unless I'm chucking the ball ahead of him.
The city of Canby
Jamie,
is.
just a
oh,
second.
sorry.
Good.
Quick question.
Yes.
I am so much into running, but I know that there is I'm not.
I'll coach you.
Yeah, I'll watch. It's good. I know that there's online running websites. Are
Right.
we listed yet
Yes.
on? Okay.
Our registration is run through active.com,
Perfect.
which is a really nice streamlined way to do it. And then we're also listed on Running in the USA, which puts you directly to our active.com so that you can register. And you can also walk it, so even if you're not a huge runner, which
I have my new
pedometer.
counter, my new
Yep,
Pedometer.
so
absolutely.
I have to learn how to say
Yeah,
pedometer.
you have to turn it on, too, and pull it.
Yeah,
And-
that's tomorrow.
and-
Monday.
And Brian, your question is good, because a lot of runs take a year or two to get into the queue for those websites.
They do.
So it is to Jamie's credit that she muscled her way in, because it is not an automatic assumption that in the first cycle you can get into those things, so.
Thank you. The City of Canby is still seeking one last member to join its Historic Review Board. The board only needs to have 3 community members that have interest in historic preservation, so that we can focus our talents on encouraging historic preservation and interpretation, encouraging historic elements throughout Canby, advising and supporting grant opportunities, which I'll get to in just a second, and reviewing historic building modification proposals, and providing guidance to the planning department. The Historic Review Board will meet in its first year at the very least 2 to 4 times, or as necessary, and anybody that is interested in participating should contact me with the city, Jamie Stickle.
Has anyone asked the local historian, Walt Daniels, to participate?
I did. I tried to get him, and I said, would you be interested? And he said that he wanted to take a little break, which I do understand, but I'm hoping that maybe he'll change his mind, because he would be a great addition to that committee.
Wealth of knowledge.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
I also forgot to mention that the poster for the Garden Spot Run is the attachment to your little packet today.
Jamie, would a letter writing campaign from the current council to former Councilor Daniels help with that?
Yes, yes, I hope so.
Couldn't hurt.
We can put you
I
in
think
charge.
a hand on the shoulder
Exactly.
and a comment to him would be even more effective. so.
Maybe we could make one of those "We Need You" posters.
That's right.
and-
That's right.
And get him going.
I hope you're listening to this, Walt.
Yeah, he's watching.
The Certified Local Government Grant, so in addition to restarting the Historic Review Board, one of the reasons of having a Historic Review Board is that we're eligible to apply for grants And so we applied for the Certified Local Government Grant in February, and there were several aspects to what we applied for. One is working with a designer to provide renderings for buildings that combine the historical aspects of what the buildings used to look like and the needs of the current building and property owners. An intense level survey that will look at 2 to 5 properties that are engaged and interested to work on their historic integrity. A plaque program that will use pictures of historic buildings and historical information to entice citizens and tourists to visit historical or former historical sites around Canby. And this could also be used as a tourism thing in the future, which will be really nice.
Jamie, what's the source of the grant funds? Is it state or federal? Or
It's state.
State.
And then grant money to help the Historic Review Board attend the Oregon Heritage Conference, which is in May. And so hopefully the letter writing campaign happens soon so that we can use those funds for the May conference. The vacant property database, which has information on the downtown commercial land and space for lease or sale. It will be updated this month in March. And it's a tool that helps market the property that Canby has available and is a way for people, business owners, or brokers who are looking for space, and it's just available in one place. It's updated quarterly, and the information is available online or in the Economic Services Department. The facade program has received another application from the Davies Clinic located at 345 North Grant Street. The applicant is proposing numerous updates for the building, including but not limited to replacing cracked entry concrete, replacing the 40-year-old entry door and windows, replacing the siding on the entry porch, and they were looking to have the colors and the lighting match, similar to the Andrus building, which is just kitty corner. The Economic Development and Planning Departments will work together with the property owner to make sure that the project moves along. And then in addition to that facade application, the city has also had meetings with Canby Clinic, which is at 452 Northwest First Avenue, and Advantage Mortgage, located at 265 Southwest First Avenue, and both of these applications should come before you at the April meeting. And I just want to note, Commissioner Coleman was kind enough to point it out and point out how important it is, but the Mattress World Miss Adeline's building, the building owner there has had the awning repainted to a beautiful black, and then they're working on doing all of the trim to update the trim to match the awning, and they aren't participating in the facade program, but as Clint had pointed out, that it's important to note all of the successes in the downtown, and I think very often we think it's got to be big, but really after looking at this building, you know that just a little bit of paint can really have such a great influence on the look of the downtown.
My 8-year-old noticed the building today.
He did. See? Just a little paint goes a long way.
For him to notice, I figured, hey.
That's all the update that I have, if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. Greg, do you have more?
I'd like to give some updates also on
Sure.
some projects around town. Today, there was a required meeting for potential general contractors for the library. It was at 11 o'clock. I don't know the names of all of the companies that showed up. There were 17 people there, including the general manager of Canby Utility. Were you there as general contractor or as?
I'm evaluating that.
Okay, all right. Future possibilities. So, thanks for coming. So that was a good turnout. Like I said, I don't know how many exact companies there were, but it was good. One of the things I wanted to talk about was when the library starts, and there was some discussion in some minutes I saw about the buildings being torn down or starting in June or July, I think July. And so one of the potential places we were looking at moving was the police station, but we're evaluating a lot of places right now. And I think Amanda and Renata have been doing a lot of work on that. We're going to be looking at, we're going to go out and do some site visits next week. We're looking at modulars and places around town that we might place those. We're talking to people that have empty land around town. So we're doing that right now, but we haven't made a decision on where, but it will be cheapest and I think, logical.
But the empty land is for temporary placement of modular building while while the construction of the City Hall. and all
That is
that's going on.
correct, yeah. Yeah, we're getting quotes on modulars and buildings around town. There's quite a list, so, but we haven't got that totally compiled yet, but Renata and Amanda are doing a good job on getting that compiled, so. Another thing is the Sequoia Parkway project. The bid opening is scheduled for April 2nd, and with the potential of that coming to the council on to the Urban Renewal Agency on April 10th, I think I had. So, looking for a decision to look at our general contractor, selected general contractor.
So you're anticipating the opening of the bids on April 7th?
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you have the notice of bids gone out? I mean, do the contractors know it and are they working on their bids now?
Yeah, but.
Because this is not very far away.
That's correct, but what the bids are, in this case, as this is the same process as you remember the police department, this is not a cost bid or price bid. This is basically a request for qualifications.
Oh.
We're looking for qualified contractors, and if you remember the process before, we asked for guaranteed maximum bid or price after we got them on board.
But that was the process we're going through on the library, and we went through in the police department, but I thought we were just going to a regular bid on the Sequoia Parkway.
Oh, I'm sorry, sorry, you're absolutely right.
All right.
I was talking police, I'm still on the library, so we were going just a regular price on the Sequoia Parkway.
Okay, so that's the opening on the 2nd of April?
Second, that is correct.
Okay.
And
And have the documents, are they out being analyzed now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. Yeah, they've been, sorry, I was still at the library.
Okay, Sue picked you up.
I'll wake up.
Just to verify, Kurt McLeod's running that.
Yeah, Kurt McLeod is the contractor on that.
Kurt is running
Yeah.
running that show.
I wanted to talk about visioning for a second, because that is, some of the things in our vision program do relate to urban renewal, and that will be coming to the council on the 20th, 1 week from today, for adoption. Hope to have a good crowd in here to talk about that. Again, Renata's been doing an exceptional job on putting that thing together, and I think it's very well represents what the community wants, and you all seen it, and it's on our website, and real happy with the process. I met with Sheila Ritz. She's works for OCCMA, and she is what they call a range rider, retired city manager out of Wood Village, and she's seen our visioning process and plan and was very impressed. So I think it's a good plan.
I looked at the edits where you moved some things around so they fit better.
Yeah.
I like where some of those, that made more sense to a lot of those by shifting them to different categories.
And that was a group process. The facilitators were not, in fact, Brian Brown was in that meeting also. We got together and thought the same things, like there were sidewalk requirements under a bunch of different things, like let's put these in different spots, maybe move it up as a priority, so. And I think we're still captured the intent of what the citizens wanted. Every comment's still in there, it's just that we put them in different categories.
Buckets.
They're still there. So, to let you know, Mr. Daniels is on the CTV 5 board now. I've been told, he told me that, so I don't think I'm letting anything out, so he hasn't been to a meeting yet.
So we can expect some heavy lobbying on their budget then?
Where's the camera? Yeah. I'll be sending something out to the council soon, passing something on, let's say. And the last thing I have, I think another, also urban renewal, was First Avenue. And the mayor and I met with Pam Cresciato today to speak about whatever, different things. And I think we have to declare that we accepted cookies. The mayor more than me.
Two more than you.
Oh, no, that's...
Vegetable cookies?
That's a
They
cheap...
were.
That's a cheap shot.
They were good. They were very good.
Probably smaller.
They were small. I took the smaller ones.
That's all I had to report.
Took it away from you. You took it away from me.
Well, you did bring candy too. Do you need to disclaim that as well? If
no,
we're throwing
I
people under
wasn't-
the bus right now?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I brought
And I didn't have any of that.